Hello everyone and welcome back to another lengthy video on Ian's innovations. Today, we are revisiting the most dark, horrid, cruel, mysterious, wet, disgusting, and delicious part of the ocean, the maw. Yup, that's right, I am doing another Little Nightmares theory video. You may remember when I did my really long first theory video about this game on 6 last year. But this time, instead of playing through the main campaign again, we are gonna take a look at the Little Nightmares DLC, Secrets of the Maw, where we will be playing through the 3 chapters and analyzing the secondary protagonist of the game, the Runaway Kid. Now, I already talked about what Secrets of the Maw is, and my love for it in the Why I Love for Little Nightmares Secrets of the Maw video. So if you want to know what the DLCs are, I suggest you go check it out. Also, in that video and my 1-year anniversary video, I mentioned that I would do theory videos on Secrets of the Maw and the Runaway Kid. In case you have forgotten what happened in the main campaign for Little Nightmares, I'll quickly fill you in. In the game, you play as a little girl in a yellow raincoat named Six as she attempts to escape the Maw via solving puzzles and getting past big and grotesque people. In the end, Six manages to take down the supposed overseer of the Maw, the lady, and ultimately escapes the vessel. I made a much more detailed analysis on Six and the main campaign, which is the previously mentioned Little Nightmares Who Is Six video. So I recommend watching that first before I go on about Secrets of the Maw in this video. And yes, there may be spoilers in this video, so I am warning you if you haven't played Secrets of the Maw yet. Oh, by the way, the first DLC turned 2 years old a couple months ago. So, without getting carried away, let's take a tour back into the Maw and find out what else is left to uncover. So the DLC opens with the Runaway Kid in dark, misty waters, swimming towards, well, we don't know exactly. Just then, the kid gets pulled under the water. Our protagonist then wakes up in shock, revealing that it was just a nightmare. Don't worry, I won't do the same joke as I did last time with Six. Anyway, before we continue on, let's look back at the Runaway Kid's dream. Since the kid was swimming through water, that would mean that later there will be sections where we would be swimming, which is something that wasn't in Six's campaign. And also they wouldn't just play this scene out for nothing. Secondly, when we rewatch the scene with the kid getting pulled under the water, we notice that he's pulled down by a spindly hand. This would mean that we would be later encountering some kind of water monster. Kinda like that moment in chapter 5 of Bendy and the Ink Machine. Lastly, you may have noticed that the thing with the Runaway Kid's story beginning with a nightmare is extremely similar to how Six's story began with a nightmare. But will his story play out like Six's? Well, let's continue on to find out. When looking at the room that the emo kid was sleeping in, we may notice that it looks very similar to the nursery that Six went through in her campaign. However, this isn't that same nursery. But to be honest, I thought this was the same nursery when I first played the depths, but I quickly realized that's not. This room is probably near that other nursery room and would greatly suggest that we are in the prison section and we are fairly far down in the Maw. As the Runaway Kid exits the nursery, he gets a glimpse of the janitor a floor below him chasing a kid that's trying to escape and then catches him and takes him back to the other nursery. Just by seeing the janitor and how he still has his arms, we know that this is taking place either before or during the first 2 chapters of Six's campaign, since we all know what happened at the end of chapter 2. Anyway, the kid goes into one of those minimalistic bedrooms. This one has its bed flipped sideways, revealing a hole in the floor, and on the wall, there's a child's drawing of a steamboat. I personally believe that this is a drawing of that boat that the guests poured off of in the main campaign. This could mean that at least one of the imprisoned kids learned about how the guests come to the mall every year and drew this. It's doubtful that 6, since what we have inferred from earlier, she hasn't ventured here yet in her adventure. The Runaway Kid then falls down the hole and into a bedroom with the eye drawing on the wall from 6's campaign. Although this time there is a leech present here and that breakable porcelain lady doll is not in the corner. Nevertheless, we now know exactly where we are in the mall. Once we leave the room, we see the same security eye light that 6 passed through. The eye reveals that this area is a little different from when 6 goes here. For one, there's no bed in the middle. 2, the petrified kids are nowhere to be seen, which is very odd. 3, there's a storage container in the back, and right next to it is a girl? Huh. Wonder why she is here. The Runaway Kid then climbs down the cages on the right and meets up with the girl, and then she runs off to the left. Also, she has a flashlight, which motivates us to follow her since we don't have a light source. After getting past the eye, the kid runs through the child's playroom from 6's campaign, where the power is out for some reason, and when we make it to the bathroom that 6 first climbed up into, he sees the girl let down the same towel rope that 6 used to get in here. Great! We've gotten our first answer to something from the main campaign. Anyway, after the kid climbs down the rope, he continues following the girl and then falls down a pipe, where he falls into a room filled with water. Welcome to the depths of the maw, a dirty, wet, and possibly smelly section of this vessel right below the prison. Let's see what this place houses. The Runaway Kid then goes into the next room where he finds the girl's flashlight. But where's the girl? And what happened to her? Luckily, this gives the kid an opportunity to take the flashlight so he can have his own light source. Hooray! And with our newly acquired flashlight, let's try to figure out what happened to the girl. So with the flashlight being here, we know that she came down to the depths as well. Since the opened grate was the only other way to go from earlier, where else could she have gone? When we continue down the room, we see her black, inky footsteps leading towards a planked up wall with an opening, as well as putting her inky handprint on the wood. With these details, we know that she went in this direction. When we follow the footsteps into the other room, we see that they continue on for a tiny bit, but then they just end, and there's a leech right next to it. Is it possible that the flashlight girl was eaten by the leech? Maybe, but how long exactly does it take for these leeches to fully consume an entire kid? This is generally considered by fans to be the girl's ultimate fate, and if you're wondering, she's never seen again. The kid carries on without the girl and goes through a slightly flooded hallway, and oh crap, these leeches move really fast in water. I'm sorry, this was actually my reaction to when I first played through this scene. So it appears that not only are leeches just as infested in the depths as they are above in the prison, which makes sense given that we are even deeper in the maw, but they seem to be very well suited for water environments. After escaping the leeches, the Runaway Kid climbs up to a higher area, and as he reaches the top, we hear this. What the hell was that? It sounded like something heavy falling over and then someone or something wailing. Now when I first heard this sound, I initially thought it sounded like the scene from 6's campaign where she cuts the janitor's arms off. However, that can't be possible since the DLC is set mostly during 6's first chapter. And this mysterious noise is never addressed again, and it has never been confirmed on what made it. We then enter an even bigger room that is even more flooded. As we swim through it, we can see a bunch of old furniture. Why is all this down in the depths? Could this mean that the depths is an abandoned part of the maw? Also, was it even meant to have water in the first place? Could these be signs that someone used to be here? Or maybe could there still be someone down here? In another flooded room, his nightmare from earlier becomes true as something in the water begins heading towards us. But luckily, the kid makes it out. This water monster is simply known as the Granny. She's a hag old lady that lurks in the water and is the main enemy in this chapter. But if this is his first time down in the depths, then how did the Runaway Kid know of the Granny to have that nightmare of her in the first place? Was he previously in the depths before? It could explain why he already knows how to swim when we come down here, but could there be more to this boy that meets the eye? Anyways, after the kid escapes more leeches, he tries solving a puzzle by using a lever that changes the water level. This is strange. If we earlier speculated that the place was abandoned and was maybe never meant to be flooded, then why is there a lever that can drain and erase the water? Is this place really not intended to have water? Well, I still believe that the depths is abandoned and that this lever is here just in case it gets flooded. It makes sense since given that the depths is most likely the deepest section of the maw and several miles under the ocean. Maybe a flooding or two would have been bound to happen down there. And by the way, there are multiple of these speculatives in this chapter that race in lower water. Throughout most of the chapter, the Runaway Kid swims through more flooded rooms and avoids the Granny. Hell, there's a moment where we see her old ugly head poking out of the water before quickly submerging back. We also see more evidence that the depths once may have had a purpose. However, the kid later discovers another flooded room, but this one is unique because when he lowers the water, we see that there is furniture strapped to the floor so that it won't float up when there is water. Now, when I first saw this section, I thought this was a room where the Granny would make herself comfortable. And later, I found out that I was actually kinda right. As you can see here in this piece of concept art, she is sitting in her chair underwater while the kid goes across the water. So I guess it's safe to say that this is her sort of relaxation room. Right across from that room, there's also a big hole in the wall. Maybe this is how the Granny gets around in the depths. Now, we're not sure if she prefers to stay in the water most of the time, but we do know she can't go out of the water since she put this handprint on the wall on this non-flooded room. These details also raise more questions about the Granny. Why is she in the depths? Does she have any significant tasks down here? Is she even supposed to be here? Well, judging by just looking at what she does down here, I think she might be trapped here against her own will. Could the lady have banished the Granny down here? That could be a possibility. The lady should at least be aware of her existence since she's supposedly the leader of them all. Eventually, the Runaway Kid makes it to the final flooded room, once again jumping from floating object to floating object while trying to avoid the Granny. At this point, she's become more aggressive on the kid, where after he turns on the electricity and raises the water, the old hag goes as far as literally destroying the platform he was on, showing that she really wants to kill him now. The kid then climbs up another platform with a wired TV and the Granny once again attempts to tear down the platform. With no other way to save himself, the Runaway Kid pushes the TV in the water, electrifying the water and electrocuting the Granny, killing her. Finally, the torture of the depths is over. This action parallels with what Six did in her adventure where both protagonists killed their own nightmares. Although the difference with the Runaway Kid is that he kills his nightmare only at the end of his first chapter, and he kills her in a lot less extreme way. So after killing the Granny, the kid climbs up a tall ladder that leads to a metal grate. But unfortunately, after he exits the depths, he's instantly captured by the janitor. What a coincidence. It was like he was just waiting for us to show up. We then see the Runaway Kid locked in a cage along with other captured kids in the same cage room from the lair from Six's campaign. Hell, even Six is here. This means that this adventure is set during the main campaign, and the first chapter ends with the kid being dragged away by the janitor. Now, the Runaway Kid story obviously isn't over yet. There are still 2 more DLCs from Secrets of the Maw, and in the next part of this series we'll be covering the Hideaway chapter. Yeah, this is gonna be a 3-parter. I made this decision because of a couple reasons. For one, the Little Nightmares Who Was 6 video ended up being way too long, and I thought dividing this series in parts would be better. Secondly, even though Secrets of the Maw is shorter than the main campaign, there are a lot more details to point out. Third, I think dividing this analyzation of the DLCs individually would provide a little more tension when covering them. And fourth, I don't want you guys waiting another 3 months for another video on this channel. I also hope that I'll finish this series before Little Nightmares 2 gets released. But anyways, thank you for watching part 1 of Little Nightmares Who is the Runaway Kid. Be sure to like and subscribe, and next time I'll see you in most likely a different video. Goodbye!